So welcome everybody. Thank you very much for signing up to be a Titan mentor at this year's JA Titan Challenge that is taking place on Wednesday, February 12th at 7 different college campuses throughout the state. I am Michelle Anderson along with Kevin Heatley, a board member from Gorham Savings Bank, and we're going to give you a quick overview of what it takes to be a Titan mentor.
The Titan Challenge is a business simulation system that is available via the internet, and it's put in place by Junior Achievement USA, and it's accessed by us here in Maine and all around the country. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how it works, and then specifically what you'll see and what your teams will see for screens, and then we will get to the last part of some tips for the day of the event. So the first thing I would just mention is that when you're doing this business simulation, it's kind of a futuristic thing, or it's supposed to be. And what the students and the industries are going to be selling through their company is this thing called a holo generator, and you see a picture there on the screen. That is, as it says, a futuristic handheld video conferencing device. So they'll get to decide that what kind of R&D they want to put into it, how they want to market it, how much they want to market it, and things like that. And what they want to sell it for. So all that information comes together in how they build their product and how they sell their product, and then how their team does in industries. So each team is made up of 3 high school students and you, the mentor, and then they're put into, like I said, industries. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But before we get to that, we're just going to show you some slides here talking about the different aspects of what makes up the performance index, which is what we will score the whole competition on round by round. Jeff Gramlich from USM will be reiterating that information the day of the event for yourselves and the students. So this was just given to you for kind of a early entry, so you get an idea of how the competition is going to work. So once the students are in place and ready to go, they're going to have their laptops they're going to be working off of, and they're going to be given 10 cards at their location, so they'll know exactly where they're supposed to be sitting, and then you'll know where to find them. And then on the 10 cards, they'll also have their username of their team and their password that they need to log in. So using that information, they will go to that website that's listed on the screen. Again, we'll tell them all of this that day as well, but they're going to be logging into the screen here using their username and password. That'll be on the 10 card. And then they'll be brought into this screen here, which will tell them who is in their industry. So the way it's set up is there will be up to 8 teams per industry, and there'll be from teams from high schools that are across the state. And you'll see on this screen, this is just an example, but you'll see on the screen all of the teams that your team will be playing against in that round. And each round consists of multiple quarters, and the quarters are going to be determined by us how long to last. Sometimes they'll be as long as 5 minutes. Sometimes they'll be as short as 1 or 2 minutes. And this screen here tells you, what quarter you're in. This is before you even start. Tells you some of the information around the game that you're going to be playing that round. So they're going to click on the play game button that's near the top there, then yellow, to start their game when they're told to do so. And when they do enter the game, and after every subsequent quarter, they're going to be given information pop-up screens like this, where it tells the students what's going on with the industry, what's going on with their product, what's going on with their other companies that they're competing against, and what's going on inside their own company if somebody's having trouble with it. They should be reading this information, and you should be reading it with them because it changes depending on what's going on and how the company's doing. So it affects what they should be doing with their company. So This next screen here talks about how they're going to be entering the data they need to enter. So again, there's a lot of information on the screen. They should be looking at the reports and the product information that's across the top there, and then across the side, the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the rankings that will change every quarter. You can see the different teams that are in your industry and how you're doing compared to them. And then in the middle is where they want to put in the information regarding all the different items that are there. So, it really depends on how much they're going to sell. Like I said, sell their hologram for versus how much they're going to put in R&D versus how much charitable giving they're going to be doing. All factors into how successful or unsuccessful their company is going to be. So they want to put this information in, and they're going to click the submit button at the bottom there, and they just need to do that in the time that's allowed for that round. And I thought there was a clock. It's time to have that round. And if they hit submit, they want to submit a second time after they think about it. As long as it's before the clock runs out for that quarter, then it will be fine. They can do that. Oh, so to follow up with that, they were going to end up with scoring that we do for the whole event is as Michelle mentioned, there are many teams that are going to be playing that day, and up to 140 teams is what we have across the state, and there's going to be split into those different industries so that there could be up to 8 teams per industry, and those are randomly assigned. They'll be assigned differently, from one round to the next. So it's never going to be, or should never be, the same 2 teams playing in the same industry. And there are 4 rounds total to play. The first round is usually a kind of a warm-up round, and then it gets harder as we go. A little more, we can kind of ratchet up the difficulty, if you will, so it gets a little harder for them to try to figure out how to work in the best environment for them. So at the end of each round, we look at the performance index for that whole industry, and the team that has the best performance index gets 7 points, and then 6 and 5, and going on down. So that at the end of the 4 rounds, you'll have 4. Each team will have 4 points that they'll add together so that we can get a total. And then the teams with the most points are the winners. And any ties that we have we look at the last round and we look at the retained earnings for that industry compared to the total retained earnings.
So now we're going to give you a few tips to help you the day of and to help your team. So first off, if your laptop freezes that you're competing with, we suggest you get out of the browser and try to get back in. If that does not work, we suggest rebooting your computer and signing back in with that same username and password that we provide in the beginning of the day. And if for some reason that does not work, we suggest trying a different browser. We have had great success with Firefox in the past, so certainly try to use that. And if you run out of time or do not submit your plan, the computer will submit the default settings. So they won't go with no plan, the students. So there'll always be some plan that is submitted. If your team goes bankrupt, which happens quite often, during one of the rounds, it is only for that round, and the team will be able to continue throughout the competition to play still. And find the fine line between guiding the students through their decision-making process and telling them what to do. We urge the mentors to take a back seat and let the students actually make all the big decisions for their company. And we suggest sticking to the team's mission and plan instead of making drastic changes throughout the day.
Yeah, what we've seen in the past is sometimes, because we do have an agenda we're going to share with you and we share that day, some of the students try to plan ahead to look for when that particular round will end. So they'll guess what quarter will be the last quarter for that round, and they will kind of dump a lot of money into certain aspects of the plan so that they give more favorable results. And while that may have a very short-term benefit for them, it's just not great, obviously, business practices so they really should be avoided. And hopefully, you can help them understand that and avoid that.
So we have asked each team to bring a laptop to compete with, and certainly if you bring a laptop, that would be a great backup in case something happens to the team's laptop. A lot of times each team will bring a school issued laptop, and we do ask that the teachers and the students know the password to get in, and we put down any firewall so that they can actually compete in the game. Also, lunch will be provided to all the participants at Titan. After each round of competition, there is a break, and during one of those breaks will be a lunch. And we do provide coffee and water throughout the day while you are competing. And scoring, the top 3 teams that get the highest PI index will receive scholarships that are generously donated by MES, Maine Education Services. The winning team, each member of that team, 3 students, will receive a $1,000 scholarship for post-secondary education. The second place team, each member will receive a $500 scholarship. And the third place team, each member of the team will receive a $250 scholarship.
And that's statewide for the whole event. So all 4 rounds together, those top 3 teams will be calculated that way.
Yes. And at each of the 7 locations, we will announce a regional winner. And the regional winners will receive medals. And that is the team at that location that had the highest PI index.
So the one thing to note on that is that there's no double winners, so that if somebody is the top team for the state in, say, Augusta, there'll be a second team that will be the regional winner there. So there'll be 2 different people that are honored at the location. Even though obviously the top team of the state was the top team in that region, they're not also the regional winner. So we have multiple winners that day.
And we ask all mentors and the students to please turn off your cell phones or at least silence them during the 4 rounds of competition. Certainly during the breaks, feel free to turn on your laptops or computers, but during the competition, we ask that all cell phones are off. And all participants, including the students, are asked to dress in business attire for this business competition. So next, we're going to show you the agenda for the day. I'll let you briefly take a look at it. The registration begins at 8:15 when the students arrive, and then at 8:40 is when we will have the kickoff speakers from the University of Southern Maine in Portland. And we will have big video conferencing systems so that all the locations will be able to see the other locations competing and obviously hear any of the speakers.
We ask the mentors to be at the locations no later than 8:15 to make sure that they know exactly where they're going and find their teams that they're going to be working with.
Correct. So you'll see going through, there's 4 rounds of competition. There is a brief overview, which will explain a little more about the PI index again and the different things that the teams will be graded on. There's a campus tour and lunch at each of the locations. And then we do have morning and afternoon speakers that are different at each location. And then after the 4th round of competition at 1:50, the statewide speaker, Melissa Smith, who is the president and CEO of WEX, will speak, and then she will announce the awards from Portland. But certainly the winners will be, who knows, anywhere at the 7 locations throughout the state. And then the event will get over no later than 3 o'clock. So we want to thank you very much for taking the time to listen to our presentation and for being a business mentor. Like I mentioned, this is our biggest Titan to date. We have about 140 teams from 40 high schools competing. And certainly if you have any questions about being a mentor, feel free to send me an email. We will be sending you your team match ahead of time so you know who to look for the day of Titan. So thanks again, and we look forward to the Titan Challenge on February 12th.
Thank you.